Hey, you want to know something I'm pretty much always in the mood for? A nice glass of water. To which some of you might be thinking, what kind of answer is that? Why not say something like an ice cream cone? But let me ask you this. When's the last time you woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom and thought, hey, you know what I want right now? A nice ice cream cone. Okay, sure, a few of you probably did raise your hands, but the point remains, most of you would have chose the glass of water, because here's the thing, as great as some things are, sometimes you just gotta be in the right mood for them. And video games are no different. For example, every now and then my fingers feel just a little extra responsive, quick, and frisky. My eyes feel alert. I start frothing at the mouth, and that familiar song starts playing in my head. Bump, 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 bump. Ikaruga. But unless all of those things happen, it's really hard for me to play this game. So you just wait for those moments to strike, and then you fire up that game. When it comes to being in the mood to play certain games at certain times, there's a lot of different factors that can go into this, but I want to start with one that I know a lot of you parents out there can certainly appreciate. How long is this gonna take to play? When it's the end of the day and you've finally put your kids to bed and done everything else you need to do, and it's your time to finally play some games when nothing else is going on. A time we like to call the time when the world stops. And you might be thinking, you know what? I'm not in the mood to play a game like Final Fantasy VI because I gotta pull an all-nighter just to make some decent progress in this son of a gun. Fast forward to the next morning and there you are, passed out on the couch with a Super Nintendo controller in your hand and the opera scene playing on the TV. Us retro gamers tend to like shorter games, which, hey, lucky us, retro gaming has a whole bunch of games that we can quickly just pick up, play, and be on our way. Now, when it comes to games of different lengths, quite often this correlates with different genres. When's the last time you played a run and gunner that took 40 hours to play through? I mean, I guess if you tried to do it all at once and just play the game over and over and over until you finally beat it, it could take that long. But ideally, when you fire up a game like Contra, you just make your way through maybe one or two stages. Then in stage 3, something unfortunate happens and you run out of lives, and then you're done. Maybe you give it another run if you have another 10 minutes or so, but if you want to, you can be done. But while we're talking about short games, we gotta talk about difficult games, because a lot of times short games are very difficult, and you may just not always be in the mood for a challenging game. You might be thinking, I've been getting my butt whooped all week by life. I don't need to get it whooped by Comix Zone 2. I don't care how visually pleasing the aesthetics are. In fact, while we're talking about not being in the mood to play challenging games, quick little story for you. So, back in the day at school, my friend Christopher and I were at school together, as we always were, but on this particular day, I was going to go over to his house after school. So we're going through the day, but Christopher is not having a very good day. I can't remember exactly why, but he was not. So after school, we go over to his house and he decides to play some Crash Bandicoot 2. And this one stage is just giving him a heck of a time. He cannot get past it. It was this stage where there's either like sea lions or walruses or something's coming out of the water and it's getting him every time. And finally, he just loses it, slams his controller on the ground and says, "You think you're better than me? You think you're better than me?" He's talking to the TV, not me. So then I say, "Hey, those oranges on your orange tree outside look pretty ripe. Maybe we should go out there and pick some, eat some fruit." Totally diffused that situation, by the way. Nailed it. Now, as a kid, Christopher didn't know better than to play a challenging game when he had already been having a bad day. Whereas now, for a lot of us as adults, we know to not do that. Unless, for some reason, playing a challenging game when you feel bad helps you feel better. I don't know. That could be what you're in the mood for when you're not feeling well. But in any case, how we're feeling can very much dictate what type of game we feel like playing. Whether you're feeling sad, happy, or stressed out, that can dictate what type of game is going to hit the spot for you. For example, if you're feeling sad, maybe you want to play some Samba de Amigo to brighten things up. Or maybe you don't like playing happy games when you're sad. Maybe you want to play sad games when you're sad because you kind of like to wallow in your sadness. Hey, I'm not here to judge, I'm just pointing it out. Or maybe you only like to play happy games when you're already feeling happy, so Samba de Amigo. And speaking of how you're feeling, what if you're physically exhausted and you just don't have the energy for something like a light gun game or a VR game, motion controls game? You just want something with a standard controller. You don't have the energy for all that wiggle, waggle, woogle, woggle. All right, but the next thing I want to bring up is something that I think is gonna really hit close to home for a lot of you, and that would be being in the mood for a certain game because it's part of a series that you've been playing, or maybe there's an upcoming game in the series coming out and so you're like, oh yeah, let me play all the other games in the series leading up to it to build up that hype. For example, every time a new Metroid game comes out, which isn't nearly as often as it probably should be, it seems like everybody gets super excited to play Metroid games. And I've definitely heard of some people who have a hard time playing a certain game unless they've already been playing that series, because it's just what gets them into it and gets them in the mood. And then what about being in the mood for multiplayer games, whether it be online or with people in the same room as you? You may only be in the mood for those games when you've got those competitive and or social juices flowing. Okay, but now it's time for this video's question, which is, what's a game that you really have to be in the mood for, but once you are, ooh, hot doggy, does it ever hit the spot? For me, personally, and this may seem like kind of a weird answer, but I would say just modern games. Yeah, I'm not always in the mood for modern games, but when I am, every now and then, it just really scratches that itch. So there's my answer. I'd be curious what yours is. So be sure to leave your response down below, and I will see ya in the next video.
He's the retro bird, yeah. And he's talking about video games. He's the retro bird, oh yes. And he hopes that you like what he had to say.